Hey traders, the Chart Guys Swing Report newsletter is currently live. In the description of this video, there are two links. The first is to the sign up page where you can also get emailed an example of a previous copy. And the second is to an in-depth video to let you know exactly what the Swing Report entails. Appreciate your attention. Let's get on to the charts. Hello MJ traders, we got a monsoon rolling through outside, so hopefully we won't lose power. I just had a blip cut out. But the MJ space is coming to life, at least in the short term, reminiscent of 2017-2018 bull moves. We know not to get too excited. We need more follow through than just one day, but it gets our attention. We've got APHA earnings tomorrow pre-market, which are going to have a significant impact on the short-term momentum of the sector. We had CGC come out with some news 2 days ago, which gave a little bit of a bump in terms of online sales and US products. So those are things that we're looking towards. I personally don't think we're seeing much of a catalyst for any kind of vote in September on federal legalization that may be coming, because again, the House will pass it potentially, but the Senate is not going to pass it. So it's not going anywhere. It's nice to have some headlines. We're still looking towards the fall and the potential of individual states like Arizona legalizing. We have some medical on the ballot. And of course, if Biden wins, federal medical removal from Schedule 1 and opening up the doors to potential banking and uplisting for the USMJ plays. I made a whole video on that. It's on our YouTube channel talking about how to prepare for the fall. But let's talk about the short-term action right now, because again, it's very notably bullish, and I have ranked everybody here in terms of strongest to weakest, technically speaking, with Canadian names first. And I guess I didn't do US names. IIPR is on its own because it's traded in the NYSE. But as far as the US MSOs, these are their rankings, technically speaking. So as far as short-term action goes, APHA has clearly stood out as a technical bull in the Canadian MJ space for a significant period of time at this point, and I'm talking a couple months. And again, those earnings are going to be very important. We can see the significant run-up. And even when the news came out for CGC 2 days ago, I guess that was yesterday morning, the first thing I said was CGC is seeing a bit of bullish light, and APHA is positioned very well if we see any bullish momentum. And that's because the consolidation on the APHA daily time frame was a bull flag, which it took full advantage of yesterday, while CGC at that point in time, look at the consolidation here, and look at the APHA consolidation. Very different story. So APHA, for a number of reasons, is a lead technical bull. It already broke weekly resistance long ago, and here we are breaking monthly resistance. Our monthly lower high of $6 has broken. There's the monthly chart. There's our little monthly bear flag hitting $6 and dropping to lower lows. And the only other names that we're watching that have broken monthly lower highs are our US MSOs, the three lead bulls that we're going to look at. They have broken those monthly resistances. APHA is now the first major Canadian MJ name that is breaking its monthly downtrend. We will still need a clear monthly higher low and higher high to say we're in a monthly uptrend, but this is a great start, and we're creating plenty of space to form a monthly higher low compared to 195, wherever this move does end up topping out. If it is a bullish reaction to earnings, we are going to be looking at resistance of pretty much 714 and 760 are the next major levels. There's very little resistance between $6 and 714. If it is a bearish reaction to earnings, look how much space the bulls have to work with. Anything above 493 is a daily higher low. We can pull back 15% on a bearish reaction and still form a daily higher low. Bulls are very comfortable with that positioning. So congrats to the APHA bulls, and I used to get so much junk from viewers saying that I was just a perma APHA bear. I was a technical perma APHA bear, and I have now been a technical APHA bull for a long period of time because the charts are showing us it's stronger than everybody else. I don't care if it goes up or down. I care how it trades relative to its peers. It's the lead bull. CGC catching up today in a huge way. Look at that volume. CGC with huge dollar volume. Was there potentially some rebalancing going on in ETFs that contributed to this move? That's a possibility. We'll have to wait for some information there, and I'll have to double check dates and things like that. I can remember having some deja vu where we had a significant sector run heading into APHA earnings that, in hindsight, were partially due to rebalancing of the ETFs. But either way, 1865 was a double top. It was a very clear bull break, and from 1865, there is no resistance until the gap fill of 1984. And you can see the bulls taking complete advantage of breaking that resistance on huge dollar volume. It was completely disregarding any SPY weakness. At the end of the day, SPY dumped back towards the low of the day. And if CGC was going to be tick for tick correlated with SPY at the end of today, we would have closed at 1850 or so. And obviously we closed up near the high of the day. Very, very healthy, and a potential hourly bull flag into tomorrow. If APHA has a bearish reaction to earnings, we're going to expect a sector-wide pullback. Not huge. Again, the bulls have tons of space to work with now. CGC, anything above 1620 is a daily high or low. We can pull back 10% and still be in a daily uptrend. It's just a question of whether or not the APHA bulls can respond and get follow-through, which would certainly help CGC. The biggest difference between CGC and APHA is APHA has already broken this weekly resistance. And CGC needs another 10% plus 15% to break that resistance level. And as far as the monthly chart, we know APHA has broken the monthly lower high. For CGC, anything under $26 is a monthly lower high. That's still 30% plus away. So again, it's not on the same page, but bulls are not complaining after a day like today and a very strong close. After 1984, psychological levels up to 2219, the high of the COVID bounce. In my opinion, it is not a coincidence that we are seeing the cryptocurrency space break out with 15% plus on Bitcoin in 3 days, and the next day, you see the MJ space break out. To me, that says risk on in the market, and it's a good sign. What's also worth noting before we get to our other names, look at CGC's daily time frame, and if you've been watching these videos, you know that we've been talking about correlations with the financial sector, the cruises, the airliners, and all of these laggard sectors. So let's go a little bit of comparison. Let's look at CCL, our cruise liner. So CCL, we topped out on July 15th, and then we consolidated with a slow bleed for the next 8 days. And then we had today a green day. It is the most bullish day since July 15th. Is it impressive? No, not at all. But it's the most bullish day since July 15th. CGC, we topped out July 16th, just a big upper wick 1 day later, slow fade for 6 or 7 days, and then today obviously a huge notable green day. Very similar. Look at the airliners, jets. We topped out July 15th, slow fade for 8 days. Today was the most bullish day since July 15th. CGC, you get the idea. Very similar. Obviously, MJ, way more flashy today with its move. But I am going to be constantly watching those correlations because they've been standing out to me for months at this point. VFF I would rank as the number 3 Canadian MJ bull. And the reason being, weekly resistance of 704 is approaching. It's very similar to Cron. I'd put them as a tie. But 704 is the most important resistance level. Daily time frame, higher low was set at 544. Continued bull break from here, and very limited resistance until that 704 level. If we were to lose the daily uptrend without breaking 704, it would be a weekly lower high, and we would then look for a weekly higher low. But there's no sign of weakness at this point. All about 704. Cron is very similar. Cron is weaker because we haven't broken the high of mid-July yet. Weekly time frame is fairly similar. Weekly resistance, 813, and we're currently about 15% away, as opposed to VFF's 12%. So very similar, but one little daily resistance remains at 719. Double top at that level today. After that level, very limited until 813. TLRY, slow bleed. 689 was support. We held 701, so we built a little bit of a base of support and finally broke the lower highs with a volume spike. You could call this a bit of a falling wedge. 841 is a double top, and the most important resistance level from here. And it's not surprising we rejected 3 pennies below that resistance. There is now a resistance zone at 840, 841, and 838. Zoom out to the weekly chart. Anything under 1160, I would call a weekly lower high. So we are not close to breaking the high of the COVID bounce. One difference between TLRY and the other peers is the monthly, because the monthly is looking for a higher low to be set. We've got the low of the COVID dump, the high of the COVID bounce, and this is a higher low on the monthly trying to form. So if we hold 243 and break 1160, you could consider that a monthly trend change. And if you just zoom into the 2-week time frame, a little bit more detail, but you can see that trend change attempt setting up. And again, you look at a name like CGC, and we haven't consolidated enough to be looking for a monthly higher low to form yet. And bringing up the rear is ACB. Solid bull move today, but again, tons of work to do. Anything under 1290 is just a lower high. We're nowhere near the high of the COVID bounce. We are looking for a new weekly support level to be established, but we need a confirmed daily trend change. Keep in mind this move is coming off the low, and no matter where we top out, we must see a daily higher low and higher high for follow through, and that is the exact same statement that I made back on this short squeeze, saying, yeah, the short squeeze is impressive. I will be more impressed if we can confirm a daily trend change as a result of it, and the answer was no. Slow bleed, give it all back. No, didn't give it all back, but gave a lot of it back. Just no bull momentum follow through. So it is the weakest of the major Canadian MJ names, but it is seeing some strength with the sector today. Hexo, OGI, Labs, VLNS, I personally have no interest, so I'm not going to waste my time covering them. IIPR, up at resistance, bull break today. We can see 101.48 is the high of the COVID bounce, but if you adjust for the dividend, which is one of the reasons why people like REITs to get that guaranteed cash, the adjustment for the dividend is 127, and we did break that level. It's a bit of a resistance zone just above 100, and bulls certainly want a convincing break for more follow through. 108.23 is the next key resistance after that, and the weekly perspective, building a base of support just like SPY did, and now trying to follow through and continue this move. Our top 3 lead bull US MSOs, GTBIF is leading the way. Daily uptrend is just very clear. Look at the daily 12-period exponential support as a visual guide. The last 2 higher lows bouncing right off it. Anything above 1160 is a daily higher low. Weekly chart is just breaking out. In my opinion, the way that these US MSOs are trading, it's hard to imagine any considerable weakness without the S&P 500 dumping. If the S&P 500 dumps, and we have a lot of technical, or I should say a lot of fundamental events coming up tomorrow and Thursday, then we can look for weekly consolidation in these names. But they've got a lot of bull momentum right now. The monthly downtrend has already broken on GTBIF long ago, and we're looking at 1668, and then the all-time high 2503. We need about 90% from here for an all-time high. So while I will call GTBIF our lead technical bull in the short term over the last couple of weeks, bigger picture, it's not the case. So there's a difference, short term or long term. And the biggest difference is proximity to all-time highs. CURLF, daily breakout. Look at that volume for the bulls. Sideways range, continuation, weekly time frame. Again, just following through with this trend change and not looking back. 843 broke. Look at the lack of resistance here. There is a lack of resistance on the weekly time frame to the all-time high. Just keeping in mind that that all-time high is still about 30% away, but that's way different than 90% like GTBIF. And you got to make sure that GTBIF just wasn't a big upper wick. So I got to check the Canadian ticker. What was the all-time high is what I want to know. So it is a ways away. It wasn't just a fluke upper wick. So CURLF, again, we're looking for daily higher low next time we consolidate. Whenever we lose a daily uptrend, tons of space for a weekly higher low. And I believe there will be a significant amount of bulls looking to buy weekly higher lows in these lead USMJ names. We don't have monthly trend changes, but we have monthly downtrends breaking and tons of space for monthly higher lows to form. If these OTC names hit all-time highs, they are so thinly traded that it can be explosive, which is why I'm excited for the votes and the fall and the potential momentum we could see from that. TCNNF, still a bit range bound, but heading up to test resistance. 1648 broke today, but not by much. And then 1675 is the highest price we've seen. Right now, I have a TCNNF position. I entered on this daily consolidation at 1492. I entered on this day right here. And I did end up selling half of my position at break even to remain protective, but holding the rest of that position as long as the daily uptrend remains intact. Why I like this name? Proximity to all-time highs. And again, if you look at this US ticker, you say, but the all-time high is $21. That's not the case. Look at TRUL. That was just a big upper wick of illiquidity. TRUL all-time high, just under 24. We are 8% from an all-time high on TRUL. And if you are an MJ bull, whether it's Canada, US, whatever ticker you're in, the more names that are in blue sky breakout, the better for attention on the sector. So even if I'm a GTBIF diehard fan and I'm all in, I want to see TRUL hit all-time highs because that will gain attention in this sector. And I want to see this Davy day trader, new crowd in the stock market during the COVID shutdown jump on board these illiquid USMJ names, because again, you get 10, 20, $100 million of volume and you explode because it is just thinly traded on the OTC. So plenty of space for a daily higher low on TRUL, plenty of space for a weekly higher low on our 3 lead bulls. CRLBF is doing the same thing on the daily chart. Here we are today breaking 2 higher highs, but where we are coming from, there is so much more resistance that I don't have any interest in it. It's doing the same thing short term. It's number 4. There's the big 3, and then this is the honorable mention, but anything under 730 is just a lower high, which means we can go over 20% and still be in a monthly downtrend. So it's a very different longer term perspective than the 3 lead US MSOs. So nice bull moves out there. Let's see if APHA can continue that momentum or squash it. And again, USMJ is doing its own thing, and they are running consistent and steady, and they are doing the exact opposite of the slow bleed, slow fade that you all remember from 2018 into 2019. It is the opposite right now. Just slow bull moves up, and it seems like every day there's a little bit of green going on. So congrats to the bulls in the USMJ space. Pre-market tomorrow, APHA earnings. Thanks for tuning in. Do good things, and we'll see you soon as long as this hype and momentum continues. So now we're going to highlight the abundance of growth in this temperate rainforest here in western North Carolina. I haven't watered the garden in 3 or 4 weeks. It pretty much is just a thunderstorm every day, quick and easy. And this princess plant, I moved in 13 months ago, and in the first month I had a buddy come here and help me weeding stuff. And there was a plant that was literally a foot big, probably about as big as this thing is right now. And he said, "You want me to pull this up?" I said, "Nah, leave it." And I know everybody, foundation, roots, not a good idea, cut it down. I'm going to cut it down. I appreciate the warnings, but it's an experiment. And this princess tree is just massive in 1 year's time. That's what that plant can do. That's got to be 20 feet tall. Do you like your spot? Good. Example number 2 is this jewel weed, which I've showed before. This root system was definitely already here, but at the start of this year, there was nothing there, 0 growth. So just the root system underneath the mulch, and this bush is now over 7 feet tall and more than 5 feet wide. Look at how many fruit this tree, this bush, whatever you want to call it, is going to produce in 1 year of growth.